It's not recording. I will leave, so I'll make it less awkward.
Well, now I feel more awkward because you addressed it. And now I don't. Now it's two guys sitting in a room. Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Lucas with Wellness Solutions Chiropractic Center. We are here with competitive strongman Mike Sidwell. A little bit of background on Mike. He's actually the person that got me started in the sport of strongman. Great ambassador for the sport. Great person to know. Really excited to be able to ask him a couple of questions today. So thank you, Mike, for taking the time to sit and talk with us about the sport you love so much.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So to start this all off, I guess we'll start with a pretty simple question of what got you into the sport of strongman?
Actually got into it by accident. I tried bodybuilding. Respect the sport, just not for me. I like the 24/7 lifestyle. Got on stage, did horrible. Came home, got wound up. I'm going to do better, get back on stage. Somebody said, well, why don't you try strongman? All I did was heavy lifting anyway, which is completely inappropriate for bodybuilding, considering it's blood volume training. So went out, tried strongman, and 30 minutes later I was hooked.
Okay, so just kind of fell in love with it from the start there.
Yep.
What was it about strongman that made you want to do that as opposed to say something like powerlifting, where it's still heavy lifting, just obviously a different avenue?
There's a million different events, and each event offers its own style of how you do it. I'm somebody who, I guess I don't generally go by the norm, so I like that everybody has their own way of discovering what works best for them. You could have 10 people doing the same thing completely different. I like that.
Yeah, and that was my experience with the sport as well, where everyone, you can train the same event, but everyone picks it a little differently. Everybody runs a little differently. Everyone holds it a little differently.
Yes.
So much variation, even for just the same movement. So definitely really cool. What are some of your highlights? What are some of the things that stood out to you in your career as a strongman that just make you say, man, that was awesome. I'm really glad that happened.
The smallest one would be just finding the sport. I was not an athlete my entire life. I sucked at sports. I was a fat kid. I liked Mountain Dew, still do. But I found something I'm decent at and proud to do it. As far as accolades or whatever, I've been to, this will be my 7th year going to North American Nationals. Finished second at U.S. Nationals. I've gone to the Arnold 3 times, and
Incredible.
then was invited last year to World's Strongest Man, 80 kilogram.
Yeah.
Turned it down due to an injury, but just getting an invite to something like that meant the world to me.
Yeah, and that's definitely a great track record, though, and congratulations on all of that.
Thank you.
You mentioned injury, so that is kind of the next question. A lot of people think strongman is a sport with a lot of high injury rate. We just kind of actually talked about this before doing this interview, that it's not quite as bad as a lot of people think. Every sport comes with injuries, of course, but if you do it right, you can be fairly safe and effective. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
What would you say are some of the injuries you have sustained through strongman?
Okay. Well, to preface that, probably most of my injuries have been due to poor mechanics or training too hard at the wrong time, overuse, not listening to myself or my body or my training partners, who generally have a pretty good idea of where I need to be or when I need to stop.
Right.
I woke up one morning with a golf ball in my lumbar. I tore my lumbar. This past year, right before Nationals, I tore my deltoid. And then my first visit with you, I had tweaked low lumbar, which was coming off of Nationals from the same issue,
Right.
which again was overuse at the wrong time.
So not necessarily the sport driven, just kind of going a little bit past the normal limit, pushing yourself too hard, so to speak.
Yep.
Very good.
And not addressing things like we've been working on.
Right. And so that was going to be my next question, is how has chiropractic care influenced your career as a strongman? Obviously, keeping your body moving is pretty important when your sport requires that every single time you train. So how has chiropractic care over your history kind of improved or helped you out in the sport?
Multiple ways. For one, I wake up in the morning and I can walk every day. Anything you do, whether you're riding a horse or whatever, you have a bad day or you overdo it and you're stoved up or whatever you want to call it. I don't really wake up like that. I wake up feeling pretty darn good most days.
Good.
My performance went up. One of the things Luke has done a sport-specific movement breakdown and found deficiencies. So we're not just coming in and I'm adjusting and then repeatedly having the same problem. He's found the actual problem behind the problem. He's addressing that to where we're not having to come in and band-aid the same thing every week. We're actually addressing the problem, and I'm actually getting better because of it. And then I'm minimizing injuries.
Yeah, and that's what we strive to do. We want to make sure your performance is at its absolute top. So thank you very much for saying that. That's what our goal is. And then as a just kind of overall normal everyday life, how would you say chiropractic care has kind of influenced that? So obviously performance in the sport is huge. How would you say it's worked in your just kind of normal everyday, day-to-day Mike Sidwell life?
One, it's given me a little more body awareness. Some of the movements you've had me do at home, if something feels off or I'm having a bad day at work, I'm on my feet a lot at work, I'll go through some of the movements there. Makes my day a lot better. I feel better. I probably have more energy. Not through some magic pill or anything weird like that, but just through blood flow and proper movement.
Yeah, very good, very good. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit and talk with us. Do you have anything you want to say before we wrap it all up?
One, I want to say thank you. I'm very happy to be part of this. I would recommend anybody give chiropractic a chance. I would say come see Dr. Perlich, but even if not, I would say just if you're going to invest yourself in eating, sleeping, training, and all the other stuff, why not do another really big piece of the puzzle? Why shortchange yourself? If you're as beast mode or whatever you want to be, actually go all in, invest in yourself. You'll be amazed how far you can get.
Absolutely.
And then I just would want to say thank you to anyone that supports me in the sport.
All right. Well, Michael Sidwell, everybody, thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure.